My name is Christina Bruce and I'm a nurse, a registered nurse. I wanted to be a nurse after I worked at Dana-Farber for a couple years in neuro-oncology. I worked as a medical secretary and I decided to go back to school to become a nurse.
My name is Barbara Bloom. I am a registered nurse at Metro West Medical Center in Natick. Well, my journey in nursing has been a process. It's not that easy to just say where I went to school. I started as a nurse's aide back in 1980, just by chance. I didn't have any dream of being a nurse, and I loved it, so I became an LPN, and I did that at Waltham Hospital. It was an 11-month program, and graduated in 1983, and I returned to Mass Bay for an associate's degree, which took me a long time because I had 2 young kids at home, very flexible. And I graduated from Mass Bay with an associate's degree as a registered nurse in 2003. And I am currently at Framingham State, and this is my last semester, and I'll have a bachelor's degree. Well, like I said before, I did not dream of being a nurse as a kid. I fell into it quite by accident. I moved out here from Wisconsin, and my aunt worked at a nursing home in Wayland and got me a job as a nurse's aide long before you had to be certified as a nurse's aide. And I just loved it, so I just kept going from there.
Oh yeah, my name is Edson, first name. Kamama is my last name. And I'm a nurse, registered nurse in Metro West Medical Center. Okay, I went to nursing school back in the Philippines where I came from. I went to Wesleyan University, Philippines, which is one of the top schools, top university schools in the Philippines. Well, I became a nurse, I can say, by accident, because we're a family of sailors. I wanted to be, like my dad, a marine engineer, which he is up to now. But I happened to enroll one summer, and I enjoyed it. And once I get into nursing, it's all, it all goes whatever you can. Once you're in school, that's it.
Hello, Mama. I'm a nurse. In the Philippines, dated 1994. Long time ago. I think because I want to, at first when I was going to college freshman, I feel like I need to help people who are sick. So, and to get to go abroad and have some to help my parents, so I can get a good job and good salary, so I can help my parents and my brothers for their schooling.
I'm Tierney and I'm a registered nurse. So I originally went to University of South Carolina. I went there for a year and a half and then transferred back and commuted to Salem State University. I think I've always liked helping people. When I was graduating high school, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and my mom kind of told me nursing was a good occupation. You always have a job, and I've always wanted to do pediatrics and work with kids, so that's my ultimate goal.
So it's typically pretty busy. I'm either alone with 3 or 4 patients or with a nurse's aide with 6 patients. I can be discharging patients and getting admissions. Depending on how busy the ER is, I can have very little time to prep for an admission. And then obviously if something happens to somebody emergently, then it can be really, really crazy and you're just focused on that one person.
Typically, I work the evening shift, and normally I'm in charge of a medical surgical floor. Lately I've been on a telemetry floor, learning telemetry, and now I've been in charge on that floor. So I do both. I'm on as a staff nurse and as a charge nurse. And as a charge nurse, I have 3 or 4 patients, and I delegate to other nurses their assignment and admissions and things like that. And of course, as a staff nurse, I can go up to 6 patients and work with a nurse's aide, taking care of post-ops, emergency room, patients, transfers from ICU.
I feel comfortable. It's always, especially I started as a new grad, it's always difficult to kind of get used to telling someone who's potentially older than you that you need something to be done. So at first I didn't really use it as much as I could, and then I started to realize it was not only affecting me but affecting my patient's care. So I really try to, when I can, do my own things, but reach out to the PCAs and have them do the ADLs if they're willing to walk the patients, that kind of stuff, to just make the day a little easier.
It depends on what kind of patients you get, because sometimes we'll have critical patients. It depends. That's what's good in our floor, which is a telemetry floor. You expect that everything can change or might change in a minute.
It depends. It's not really like there will be a one day that is the same. So mostly if there are patients who are post-op, like came from procedure, so you really have to check their vital signs, making sure that they are not, if they have a surgery, making sure that they are not bleeding. Making sure that the IV fluids are working, and some patients of mine, in the morning we have 6 patients with 1 PCA sometimes, so there are times that 4 of them will go to a procedure and some of them will need to be discharged, and some patients they cannot wait sometimes, so you really have to know what your priorities are. So
we've had quite a few lately. I think I had somebody the other day who had like a dementia, and we weren't sure if they were having a seizure, and then his heart rate was in like the 160s and even higher, and so I spent like at least a couple hours just in his room, like giving him one-to-one care basically, and then the other nurses like had to take care of my other patients, so I just felt like that was really busy because it was almost ICU level, such one-to-one care.
So, rapid response.
Okay, so I recently had a rapid response a couple of weeks ago. A gentleman got up to go to the bathroom and was unsteady, so 3 of us nurses ran into the room very quickly, and as we got in there he passed out, so we lowered him to the floor, called a rapid response, which is not the same as a code blue, because he was still breathing, and a hospitalist, which is a physician, supervisor, nurse from ICU, respiratory therapy, and pretty much anybody that can respond came and assessed him, and we moved him to the ICU.
Yeah, so I actually had my first code blue this past November. I was on an evening shift, which is 3 to 11, and I was going around to make sure all my patients were fine before giving a report to the night nurses that came in. And it was probably 10:45-ish, and I went to my patient's room and she was not breathing, not responsive. So we called the code blue, we started CPR, gave her epinephrine, started her on IV fluids, and that probably went on for about 2 hours. We brought her back at one point, but the hospitalist comes, the nursing supervisor comes, the nursing assistants were helpful, charge nurse, everyone. It's really just team effort to kind of do the best work that you can to try to save the patient. It didn't end up working out, she ended up passing away, but it definitely opens your eyes up to the importance of what you are doing as a nurse and how at any moment something can change.
Our rapid response, I remember my patient was in the commode at the time, and he's a heavy-set guy. He just collapsed, so we immediately put him to bed. I called the supervisors, we called the team, their doctors or nurses came by, we put oxygen, make sure that the patient has a good IV line, we put some fluids on him, and then we called the neurologist. Immediately we sent the patient for he woke up actually at the time, so there was no other things that we have to do except we have to monitor the heart rate and so forth, and some blood tests.
How is your work-life balance with family and everything else, like health-wise? And
I mean, I think it's pretty good actually. You know, I work 32 hours and I rotate between days and evenings. But I have to say there's a lot of flexibility and people are willing to pick up if I need to, you know, like when my baby was sick a while ago and I had to bring a pediatrician, you know, I called out and no one gave me a hard time, so that was nice.
I feel the collaboration between nurses and doctors are as strong as they should be.
Generally, I think that they are. I think that sometimes there are personality conflicts or a level of experience in a nurse that might cause a communication problem. But I think generally we all try to collaborate as best as we can.
How do the HIPAA laws have an impact on your job?
Oh, HIPAA laws, that's very important because it protects especially the patient from, you know, patient's privacy is the number one thing because it protects the patient whenever someone wants to know their health history or present condition. Even though they're, for example, even though they're family members, we cannot provide any information unless the patient or the healthcare proxy agreed to it.
Do you receive an uninterrupted 30-minute meal break at work off the floor every day?
I would not say it's every day, but I want to because I cannot do my work for 8 hours without taking a break. So I really need my 30 minutes break. Otherwise, I will be hypoglycemic and I cannot function well. So I really have to have some lunch. But there will be times that the secretary or my PCA, which my aide, will gonna ask me for something. If it's something urgent, then I will gonna stop my what I'm doing, or if I'm eating or something, I will stop for a few minutes and then go back to the floor. But then if it's not something urgent, I would say, can you just wait for a few minutes? I will just finish my lunch and then go.
So at the hospital I work with now, the computer system is pretty ancient. It's called Meditech. The hospital I worked at previously, we use a computer system called Epic, and it's like the new up-and-coming computer system. It talks to all different hospitals. It's just really easy to use and user-friendly. It doesn't have, like the computer system we use now, it's constantly stopping. You have to wait until it reboots, and so that's been a little difficult, but Epic was definitely the best computer system that I worked with.
Well, so we have the bedside computers, which are, you know, that we wheel around, which is kind of nice because then you can have like a little mobile like base of operation. We just got the new call light cozy system, which makes it a little easier to see who's getting up and get to them a little faster. And then when we just did that rapid response with the intubation, the doctor used I think it's called a gyroscope. It was an aid to help him intubate the patient because he was having a hard time visualizing the airway. So it was actually a scope that he could put down and then use, look at the screen as he was intubating. So that was pretty neat.
So being a nurse, you know, it's not all about the green box that you get. It's all about, there's a term there I always forget. It's not a devotion, it's something like, you know, it's a service to the family, to the patient.
To be really honest with what you know and don't know, and to be honest with yourself if you really enjoy taking care of people, because the people that you take care of are very vulnerable, and you have to really love what you do.
I've been a nurse for 26 years already, and it takes a lot to become a nurse.